The space station Orion Spire never slept. Its metal halls were always loud, always moving, always hungry for work. Ships came and went like insects around a light, carrying aliens from hundreds of worlds. High above, the rich species lived in glass towers. Far below, in the shadow levels, humans survived. Evan Carter walked through the lower market with slow steps. He kept his head down, like all humans did here. Humans were not slaves, but they were close enough. They cleaned, carried, fixed, and delivered. They were tolerated, not respected. Evan was a courier. He moved small packages for small pay. Enough to eat. Never enough to leave. The market was crowded. Tall blue-skinned traders argued in sharp voices. Short reptilian merchants hissed at customers. Floating drones watched everything with red lights. Ready to call security, Evan adjusted the strap of his worn bag and pushed forward. That was when he saw it. A bag lay near a broken stall, half hidden behind a power crate. It was not human-made. Evan knew that instantly. The surface was smooth like liquid glass, dark silver with faint lines of light moving across it. The bag looked expensive, dangerous. Even Evan stopped. Around him, no one noticed it yet. Or maybe they pretended not to. He crouched slowly and touched the handle. The bag felt warm, almost alive. A soft pulse ran through it, like a heartbeat. Not good. Evan whispered. He stood up, bag in hand. A few humans nearby noticed. One of them, a thin man with tired eyes, leaned closer. You know what that is? The man asked quietly. Evan shook his head. Alien tech, the man said. High level. Sell it. You could buy your way off this station. Another human joined them. Security won't trace it if you're careful, she said. Find a broker. Evan looked at the bag again. It was worth more than his entire life. Then he heard a voice. Please. Has anyone seen a bag? The voice was calm, but tight with fear. Evan turned out. An alien woman stood a few steps away. She was tall, with pale silver skin and dark eyes that reflected the market lights. Her clothes were simple, not like the rich elites above. Still, something about her presence made the noise around her feel smaller. She looked worried. Truly worried. My bag was taken, she said. It is important. Some aliens ignored her. Others watched with interest. A few smiled in ways Evan did not like. Evan swallowed. He walked toward her. Is this yours? He asked, holding up the bag. The woman froze. Her eyes widened just a little. Yes, she said. That is it. She stepped closer, studying Evan as if he were a strange animal. He expected her to grab the bag and walk away. She did not. You could have kept it, she said slowly. Why didn't you? Evan shrugged. It's not mine. That was all. The woman stared at him, clearly confused. For a moment, Evan thought she might laugh. Instead, she took the bag carefully, like it could break the universe if dropped. Thank you, she said. Her voice was softer now. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a credit chip. Evan shook his head quickly. I can't take that. Why not? Because I helped you, he said. I didn't sell you. Something changed in her eyes. Around them, the market noise returned. The humans who had spoken before looked angry, disappointed. One turned away. The woman nodded once. Then I owe you something else, she said. Perhaps allowing you to walk away. Evan did not understand what she meant. Before he could ask, the lights above flickered. Red security. Drones dropped from the ceiling, surrounding them in seconds. Alien guards followed, weapons raised. Step away from the human. One guard ordered the woman. The crowd backed off. Evan felt his stomach tighten. What is this? He asked. The alien woman straightened. Her fear was gone now. In its place was calm power. "This," she said, "is unfortunate." 2 guards grabbed Evan's arms. Their grip was cold and strong. "Human Evan Carter," a mechanical voice announced. "You are detained for unlawful contact with restricted property." Evan's heart pounded. "I was returning it," he said. "I didn't steal anything." The guards did not listen, Dot, as they pulled him away. Evan looked back at the alien woman. She met his eyes. For a brief moment, something like regret crossed her face. "I am sorry," she said quietly. "You never should have been involved." The guards dragged Evan into the security corridor. The market disappeared behind steel doors. Not Evan. Did not know that the bag he returned held the power to judge worlds. He did not. Know the woman was more than she seemed, and he did not know that his simple choice had already been recorded, high above. The galaxy was watching. The security corridor was colder than the market. The walls were smooth metal, glowing with thin white lines that pulsed slowly, like the station itself was breathing. Evan's boots scraped against the floor as the guards dragged him forward. Every sound felt too loud, Dot. He tried to speak again, but his throat was dry. "I didn't do anything wrong," Evan said. "I just returned a bag." The guards did not answer. They were tall, armored, and faceless behind dark helmets. To them, Evan was not a man. He was a case number. The doors at the end of the corridor opened without a sound. Inside was a holding chamber. They pushed Evan in and released him. The force sent him stumbling forward. The doors closed instantly behind him, sealing with a heavy final click. Evan turned. The room was empty. No windows. No chairs. Only a faint blue light from the ceiling and a thin red line circling the floor. A prison line, he realized. He took a slow breath and tried to calm his racing heart. Minutes passed. Or maybe hours. Time felt strange here. Finally, the air in front of him shivered. A hologram appeared. It showed symbols. Then words in basic galactic common. Unauthorized interaction confirmed. Subject, human. Risk level, undetermined. Evan clenched his fists. What risk? He muttered. "I gave it back." The hologram flickered and vanished. The door opened again. 2 different guards entered, followed by a third figure. Evan froze. It was the alien woman. She looked different now. Her simple clothes were gone. In their place was a dark robe lined with faint golden symbols. The air around her felt heavy, like pressure before a storm. The guards stood straighter when she entered. She dismissed them with a small gesture. They obeyed without question. Evan stared. "You," he said quietly. "You said you were sorry." "I was," she replied. "And I am." She studied him closely, as if seeing him clearly for the first time. "You are afraid," she said. "Of course I am," Evan answered. "Your people just arrested me." "Our people," she corrected. "This station is not owned by one species." "That doesn't help," Evan said. For a moment, she almost smiled. "My name is Cerise Vale," she said. "And you are Evan Carter." "You already know that," Evan replied. "Yes," she said, "because everything about you has been recorded since you arrived on Orion Spire." That sent a chill through him. "Why?" He asked. "Why does returning a bag matter this much?" Cerise walked slowly around the red line, never crossing it. "The object you returned," she said, "is not a bag. It is a sealed archive." Evan frowned. "Archive of what?" She stopped in front of him. "Of judgment." The word echoed in the room. Evan laughed once, sharp and nervous. "That's not funny." "I am not joking," Cerise said. "That archive contains records of civilizations. Their choices. Their crimes. Their value." Evan's smile faded. "And I touched it," he said. "Yes. So what happens now?" He asked. "You find me? You deport me?" You kill me? She did not answer immediately. Instead, she asked, do you know how most species would have acted in your place? Evan thought of the humans in the market. The whispers. The hunger in their eyes. They would have sold it, he said. Yes, Cerise replied. Or used it. Or destroyed it to prevent others from using it. And humans? Evan asked bitterly. We're not special. Cerise looked at him carefully. That, she said, is what we are here to determine. The lights in the room dimmed. The floor beneath Evan shifted. The red line faded, replaced by a circular platform. Symbols lit up around him. What is this? Evan demanded, panic rising. A preliminary evaluation, Cerise said. You are not on trial yet. Yet? Evan repeated. The walls came alive with images. Wars. Burning cities. Alien fleets. Human ships firing back in desperate lines. Colonies collapsing. Worlds going silent. Evan felt sick. This is humanity? He asked. This is the record, Cerise said. Incomplete. Contradictory. Dangerous. The images changed. Now Evan saw smaller moments. Humans sharing food. Protecting children. Standing between stronger beings and the weak. These moments, Cerise said, are rare in the data. Evan clenched his jaw. Because no one records the small things, he said. They don't look important. Cerise turned to him slowly. That, she said, is the second unusual thing you have said today. The images vanished. The room went quiet again. You will be transferred, Cerise continued. There will be a formal hearing. A hearing for what? Evan asked. For your species, she replied. Evan stared at her in disbelief. I'm just one man, he said. I don't speak for Earth. No, Cerise said softly. But today you acted for it. The door behind her opened. Before leaving, she paused. You may still be punished, she said. Your honesty does not protect you from consequence. She met his eyes. But it has earned you something far more dangerous. What? Evan asked. Her answer was quiet. Attention. The door closed. Evan was alone again. His heart pounding in the silence. Somewhere deep inside the station. The system marked a new status. Evan was moved without warning. The floor beneath him split open, and a transparent lift rose silently around his body. He did not resist. There was nowhere to run. The walls slid past him, layer after layer of the station he had never seen before. The higher they went, the cleaner everything became. The air felt lighter, colder. This was not a place for workers. This was a place for decisions. The lift stopped. The walls opened. Evan stepped out into silence. He stood inside a vast circular chamber. The ceiling was so high it vanished into darkness. Floating lights hovered in the air like distant stars. Around the circle, tall seats rose in tiers, each one occupied by a different alien species. They were watching him. Some had eyes. Some had many. Some had none at all. Their bodies were wrapped in robes, armor, or living metal. Symbols glowed faintly above each seat, marking rank and authority. Evan's legs felt weak. At the center of the chamber stood a single platform. A voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. Bring the human forward. Invisible force pulled Evan toward the platform. He did not fight it. His boots left the floor, and he floated gently until he stood in the center. A low hum filled the chamber. Evan realized, with a deep chill, that this room was recording everything. Every breath. Every word. State your designation, the voice commanded. Evan Carter, he said. His voice sounded small. Human. Courier. A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Some aliens leaned closer. Others turned away, bored already. Reason for presence, the voice continued. Evan swallowed. I returned a stolen item. A pause. Then laughter, not loud, not cruel, but amused. A crime of honesty, one alien voice said. Or a trick, said another. Humans are known for deception. Evan clenched his fists. I didn't know what the item was, he said. I just knew it wasn't mine. Yet you touched restricted property, the main voice replied. Property bound to interstellar law. I didn't steal it. Evan repeated. That is not the question, the voice said. The lights. Shifted. A figure moved forward from the highest tier. Cerise. Vael. She no longer wore the dark robe from before. Now. She wore something far more imposing. Layers of living fabric flowed around her, changing color with every step. Symbols of authority burned softly along the air. Itself as she walked, the entire chamber went silent. Every being lowered their head. Evan's breath caught. She was not just important. She was absolute. Judge Cerise Vale presiding. The voice announced. Evan felt the weight of her title crash into him. Judge. His mind raced. Judge of what? Cerise stopped before the platform and looked down at him. Her expression was unreadable. You may speak freely, she said. Am I on trial? Evan asked. Yes, she answered. For what? He demanded. She held his gaze. For revealing yourself. A low murmur spread across the chamber. Evan shook his head. I don't understand. That is expected, Cerise said calmly. Few do, at this stage. She turned to the council. This human encountered the archive and returned it intact, she said. Without demand. Without threat. An act of ignorance, one council member said. Or weakness, said another. Cerise raised a hand. Silence returned instantly. Or, she said, an act of choice. Her eyes returned to Evan. Did you know the bag held power? She asked. No, Evan said. Did you believe it could change your life? She asked. Yes, he admitted. Then why did you give it back? Evan hesitated. The chamber waited. Because, he said slowly, if I took it, I would hate who I became. The words echoed. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. One leaned forward. Humans commit wars for less. Yes, Evan said. We do terrible things. A few gasps followed. No species liked admitting weakness. But we also stop ourselves, he continued. Sometimes. And when we don't, it destroys us. Cerise studied him in silence. Then she spoke again. Do you believe your species deserves protection? Evan laughed softly, without humor. No one deserves it. Then why should we spare you? A council voice demanded. Evan looked up at the beings who could erase Earth with a thought. Because if you judge us only by our worst moments, he said, you will never see our best ones. The chamber fell quiet again. Cerise turned away from him. The human has spoken, she said. Now the system will speak. The floor beneath Evan lit up. Symbols raced around his feet. A mechanical voice filled the chamber. Evaluation in progress. Subject, humanity. Sample size. Insufficient. Evan's heart dropped. Inconclusive, the voice continued. Further testing required. Cerise turned back toward Evan. Her expression was calm. Your trial is not over, she said. It has only begun. Guards stepped forward. Evan felt the invisible force return, lifting him from the platform. Where are you taking me? He asked. To observation, Cerise replied. You will remain alive. That's supposed to comfort me? Evan asked. For now, she said. As he was pulled away. Evan realized something terrifying. He was no longer being judged as a man. He was being studied as a sign. And somewhere in the silent systems of the court, a new directive appeared. Evan did not know how long he stayed in observation. The room they placed him in was not a cell, yet it felt worse than one. The walls were transparent, showing stars drifting slowly past. No bars, no locks he could see. Just space, endless and quiet. A soft light followed him wherever he moved. He sat on the floor, knees pulled close, trying to slow his breathing. He had stood before beings who judged worlds. He had spoken for humanity without permission. And now, no one spoke to him at all. Silence pressed against his thoughts. At first, Evan told himself this was mercy. They had not killed him. They had not hurt him. Then hours passed, or days. Food appeared without warning, sliding out from the wall. Water followed. No voice explained anything. No screen showed time. They're waiting, Evan muttered to himself. Waiting for what? He did not know. Finally, the silence broke. The stars outside the glass shifted, twisting unnaturally. The room darkened. The light following him faded. Figure appeared on the other side of the transparent wall. Cerise Vale. She stood with her hands behind her back, watching him as if he were a puzzle, missing one final piece. You are being observed, she said. I noticed, Evan replied dryly. You have been calm, she continued. I don't have energy left for panic, he said. What happens now? Cerise did not answer immediately. Tell me something, Evan Carter, she said. If you believed your species would be erased tomorrow, would you try to stop it? Yes, he said without hesitation. Even knowing you would fail? Yes. Why? Evan thought for a moment. Because trying matters. Cerise tilted her head slightly. Explain. If we stop trying, Evan said, then we really deserve to end. For the first time, Cerise looked unsettled. She turned away. The Council believes you are an anomaly, she said. A statistical error. Lucky me, Evan replied. They believe your action was emotional, she continued. Not cultural. Evan stood slowly. So you think I'm rare? Yes, she said. And that makes you dangerous. The wall between them shimmered. Suddenly. It was gone. Evan froze. Cerise stepped into the room. No guards followed. You should not be here alone. Evan said, I am perfectly safe, she replied. She raised her hand. The room changed. The stars vanished. The glass walls faded. The floor hardened beneath Evan's feet. He now stood in a familiar place. Earth. A city street burned around him. Buildings were broken. Smoke filled the air. Human ships lay in ruins overhead. Evan gasped. This is not real, he said. It is a projection, Cerise answered. Built from your species' memories. A scream echoed nearby. Evan turned and saw humans running. Soldiers firing. Children crying. What is this? He demanded. A scenario, Cerise said calmly. A test. The sky darkened. Alien ships appeared above the city, massive and silent. Your world has failed evaluation, Cerise said. The verdict is extinction. Evan's chest tightened. He knew it was not real, but his heart did not care. What do you do? Cerise asked. Evan looked around wildly. There were no weapons in his hands. No power. No command. I help, he said. How? She pressed, however I can. The ground shook. A nearby building collapsed. Evan ran. He pulled a trapped man from rubble. Shielded a child with his body. He shouted warnings. He carried the wounded even when his arms felt like fire. Cerise watched silently. The sky burned brighter. Your actions do not change the outcome, she said. Your species still ends. Evan knelt beside a dying woman. He closed her eyes gently. I know, he said. But they change us. The world froze. The fire stopped. The screens cut off. The city faded. They were back in the observation room. Evan collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Cerise stared at him. You were offered no reward, she said. No survival. I wasn't helping for that, Evan replied. Then why continue? Evan looked up at her. Because if the end comes, he said, I want us to meet it as humans. The room was silent, somewhere far away. The council watched this moment. Cerise turned from Evan and activated a hidden channel. The test is complete, she said. A voice responded, cold and distant. Results? Cerise hesitated. For the first time, she said slowly, the subject did not seek escape, power, or advantage. And the voice demanded, and chose meaning instead. A long pause followed. Then, status. Update colon humanity dash unstable dot humanity dash unyielding dot humanity dash not yet condemned. Evan did not hear the words. He only saw Cerise Vale looking at him, not as a judge, no, but as something far more dangerous. As someone beginning to doubt the galaxy's oldest rules. The council chamber was alive again. Evan stood at its center. But this time he was not alone in the silence. The air itself felt tense, as if the station knew something irreversible was approaching. The floating lights burned brighter, casting long shadows across the faces of the watchers. Had seen the test. They had seen him choose meaning over survival. And it had disturbed them. A tall alien with a fractured crystal body rose from its seat. Its voice echoed like breaking glass. The projection proves nothing, it said. The human was placed in a controlled illusion. Emotion is easily manipulated. Another council member followed, its many eyes blinking out of rhythm. Agreed. Sacrifice in simulation does not equal virtue in reality. Murmurs spread. Evan clenched his jaw but said nothing. He had learned when to speak and when silence was stronger. Cerise Vale remained standing above them, her expression unreadable. You misunderstand the purpose of the test, she said calmly. It was not to see if he would save his world. Then what? Demanded a voice from the upper tier. To see, Cerise replied. Whether he would abandon it. The chamber still. She turned slightly. And a new image appeared in the air between them. The archive. The same bag Evan had returned now hovered open. Its surface unfolded into layers of light and symbols. Streams of data flowed endlessly from its core. This archive, Cerise said, does not only judge civilizations by strength or expansion. It measures restraint, empathy, the ability to limit oneself. A sharp sound of disbelief echoed. Then why, another council member asked, has humanity failed previous evaluations? Cerise looked directly at Evan before answering. Because humanity is inconsistent. A heavy word. Inconsistent, she repeated. Capable of great cruelty and great mercy. The system cannot predict them. The crystal-bodied alien leaned forward. Unpredictable species are eliminated. That has always been law. Yes, Cerise agreed. And that law has also destroyed civilizations that later proved essential to galactic balance. The council stirred again. Unease rippled through the chamber. Evan felt it. This was not just about him anymore. Cerise raised a hand, and the archive shifted. New images appeared. Alien fleets burning. Trade routes collapsing. Empires falling after centuries of dominance. These were judged stable, Cerise said. Orderly, logical, efficient. The images changed. The same empires stagnant, empty, lifeless. They lost the ability to change, she continued. And so they died slowly. The chamber was quiet. Evan finally spoke. Humans change because we mess up, he said. A lot. Several heads turned toward him. We fail, he continued. And then we argue. And then we try again. A council voice responded sharply. And you destroy worlds in the process. Yes, Evan said. Sometimes. He took a breath. But sometimes, he said softly, we stop ourselves. That was the moment the archive reacted. The light around it flared violently. Symbols rearranged themselves at impossible speed. The chamber shook. An automated voice filled the space. Conflict detected. Humanity classification unstable. Judgment path split. The council erupted. What does that mean? One voice demanded. It means, Ceres said slowly, that the system cannot reach a verdict. That has never happened, another voice said. It has, Ceres replied. But only once. The chamber grew colder. Which species? Someone asked. Ser. Eyes paused. The architects. She said. The name carried weight. Fear. They were spared, she continued, and later saved the core worlds during the collapse. The implication hung heavy in the air. Evan felt his heart race. You're saying humans could become that? He asked quietly. I am saying, Ceres replied, that humanity stands at the same threshold. The archive pulsed again. Recommendation required. Primary judge authority. Requested. All eyes turned to Ceres Vale. She had the power. Now, condemnation, control, or recognition. Ceres closed her eyes. For the first time since Evan had met her, she looked uncertain. The risk is unacceptable, the crystal alien said. They should be contained. Or erased, another added. Ceres opened her eyes. No, she said. The word was quiet, but absolute. The chamber froze. I will issue a delayed verdict. Ceres announced. Humanity will not be destroyed. Not today. Outrage followed. You defy protocol. I interpret it, she replied. She looked down at Evan. Your species will be observed, she said. Closely. Any large-scale aggression will end this mercy. Evan nodded slowly. Fair. Ceres turned back to the council. But understand this, she said. If humanity falls, it will not be because they were cruel. She paused. It will be because we refuse to believe they could be better. The archive sealed itself. The chamber lights dimmed. And somewhere deep in the system, a final message was recorded. Humanity. Stay of execution granted. Status. Probationary species. Evan. Exhaled for the first time in what felt like years. The war was not over, but humanity was still alive, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way. Again. Evan was not released. That was the first thing he understood. When the guards returned, they did not grab him this time. They did not threaten him. They simply waited, standing at a respectful distance, as if unsure what he was now. Where are you taking me? Evan asked, to witness. One of them replied. That answer frightened him more than prison ever could. They escorted him through corridors no human had walked before. The walls were dark and smooth, marked with symbols that shifted when he looked directly at them. The air felt heavy again, charged with something unseen. At the end of the passage stood a vast observation hall. Its front wall was not metal or glass. It was space. A massive viewing field opened before Evan, revealing a distant star system glowing softly in the dark. Several planets circled a yellow sun. One of them was blue-green. Alive. Evan felt a strange tightening in his chest. What am I looking at? He asked. Ceres Vale stepped forward from the shadows. A species currently under review, she said. Like yours. The star system zoomed closer. The living world filled the view. Evan could see continents, oceans, clouds. Then ships appeared. Alien warships. They surrounded the planet in perfect formation. Evan's breath caught. You're going to destroy it. Ceres did not deny it. This species was evaluated, she said. They failed. On the screen, energy weapons powered up. Evan turned sharply to her. Then why show me? Because mercy has a cost, Ceres replied. And you must understand it? The planet's defenses fired back weak, desperate. The warships did not move. A flash of vents, Light dot the surface of the world burned. Evan staggered. Backward as if struck, millions of lives vanished in. Silence. The stars returned to stillness. Evan could not speak. His hands trembled. This, Cerise said quietly, is what restraint looks like to the Council. One species dies, so another may live. Evan rounded on her, anger cutting through shock. You spared us by killing them? No, she said. They were already condemned. That doesn't make it better, Evan snapped. Cerise met his gaze. No, she agreed. It doesn't. She waved a hand. The image vanished. They were alone in the dark hall now. You think you saved humanity, Cerise said. But what you truly did was bind us to you. Evan frowned. What does that mean? It means, she continued, that if humanity commits an act of large-scale aggression, the Council will not hesitate next time. Evan felt the weight of it settle on his shoulders. You put us on a leash, he said. Double quotes. Yes, Cerise replied. And I placed my own neck beside yours. That surprised him. They won't forgive me for this, she continued. If humanity fails, I will be stripped of authority, possibly erased. Evan stared at her. Then why risk it? Cerise was silent for a long moment. Because the galaxy is dying, she said finally. Not from war, from certainty. She gestured toward the stars. Species grow powerful, predictable, and empty. They stop choosing. They simply follow patterns. She looked back at Evan. You broke a pattern. Evan shook his head. I just returned a bag. And in doing so, Cerise said, you introduced doubt into a system that has not questioned itself in millennia. A low alarm suddenly echoed through the hall. Red light flashed along the walls. A mechanical voice announced, Unauthorized Council action detected. Emergency. Session initiated. Cerise stiffened. They're moving faster than expected, she said. The wall before them shifted again, this time showing. The council chamber. Several members were already speaking. Voices overlapping in anger. The human has influenced the judge. This probation is unacceptable. Mercy invites rebellion. Cerise stepped forward, activating a channel. You will stand down, she commanded. A voice responded coldly. No. Judge Vale, you will. The image shifted. A new document appeared in the air. Motion filed. Revocation of judicial authority. Condition. Humanity non-compliant. Evan's blood ran cold. They're using us, he said. As an excuse. Yes, Cerise replied. And as a test. She turned to him. Evan Carter, your role is not finished. I didn't ask for one, he said. I know, she replied. That is why you are effective. The station shook lightly. Security alerts echoed in distant halls. The Council will attempt to provoke your species. Cerise said, they will push humanity toward violence to justify reversal. Evan clenched his fists. Then what do we do? Cerise's eyes hardened. We endure, she said. And we choose carefully? She placed a small device in his hand. It was simple, human-compatible. A channel, she said. If humanity stands on the edge, I must know. Evan looked at the device, then back at her. You're trusting us again, he said. I am trusting you. Cerise corrected. The alarms grew louder. Guards appeared at the hall entrance. Uncertain whom to obey, Cerise stepped back into the shadows. You may go, she said to Evan. For now. And if humanity fails? Evan asked. Cerise did not answer. As Evan was escorted away, one final update appeared in the system. Unseen by him, it felt across the stars. Humanity, active variable. Outcome, unknown. The galaxy held its breath. Evan returned to the lower levels of Orion Spire as quietly as he had left them. The market was still loud. Still crowded. Still unfair. Humans worked. Aliens watched. Life continued as if the galaxy had not almost erased an entire species. But Evan felt different. He carried no chains. No guards followed him. And yet, he had never felt more watched. Days passed. News spread through hidden human channels, whispers of increased patrols near human colonies, trade delays, strange inspections. Nothing violent. Nothing obvious. Pressure. The Council was testing humanity. Evan stood in the same market where it had all begun. The place where he had found the bag. He watched a young human boy argue with an alien merchant over unfair prices. He saw anger flash in the boy's eyes. Evan stepped in. "Let it go," he said softly. The boy looked at him. "They keep pushing us." "I know," Evan replied. "That's the point." That night, the device Cerise had given him activated. A soft light blinked once, then her voice filled the small room. "They have begun," she said. Evan sat up. "What did they do?" "A human cargo ship was boarded," Cerise said. "No violence. But the inspection was designed to provoke." Evan closed his eyes. "People are angry," he said. "Some want to strike back." "That is expected," Cerise replied. "If humanity responds with force, the verdict will be reversed." "And if we don't?" Evan asked. A pause. "Then," Cerise said, "the Council loses its final argument." Evan stood and looked out at the stars through a cracked viewport. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Not long," she said. "The vote will be called soon." Evan made a decision. He sent a message, not to leaders, not to generals, not to workers, to colonists, to people like him. Simple words, simple truth. They want us angry. They want us to prove them right. Don't give it to them. The message spread slowly. Then faster. There were protests, but no attacks. There were shouts, but no weapons. Humans stood their ground and refused to break. The Council watched. Hours later, Evan was summoned again. The chamber felt different, now. Uncertain. The archive hovered open once more. Its light unstable. "The vote is called," the central voice announced. Ceres Vale stood before them, calm but pale. "Humanity has shown restraint under pressure," she said. Repeatedly. A council member hissed. "They are merely waiting." "Then so are we," Ceres replied. The archive pulsed. Final evaluation processing. Evan's heart pounded. Images flashed. Markets. Ships, colonies. Humans helping aliens. Humans turning away from violence. The system slowed. Then stopped. The voice returned. Verdict complete. Silence fell like gravity. Humanity classification updated. Status. Recognized civilization. Protection granted. Autonomy confirmed. The chamber erupted. Some voices shouted in protest. Others in disbelief. Cerise closed her eyes briefly, then opened them and looked at Evan. "It is done," she said. Evan let out a breath he had been holding since the market. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now," Cerise replied, "humanity lives with the consequences of its choices." The council chamber faded. Evan stood once more in the lower market of Orion, Spire. But something had changed. Aliens looked at humans differently now. Not above them. Not below. Beside them. An alien merchant nodded at Evan as he passed. A guard stepped aside. Evan walked on. High above, Cerise Vale watched the station lights drift past the stars. Her authority was reduced. Her future uncertain. But the galaxy had shifted. All because one human had chosen not to steal. Somewhere deep in the archive, a final note was added, one that no system had ever recorded before. Humanity is dangerous, not because it seeks power, but because it can choose restraint. Evan never became famous, never became rich, never became a hero. He simply returned to work, But the next time a human stood at the edge of a choice, the galaxy remembered what happened when one of them chose to do the right thing. And that memory changed everything.